Hi and welcome back to Computer Science for Everyone, and in this lecture we're going to be creating the first part of our list. So let's remind ourselves what the details that this node had to contain. It had to contain student details, which are the name, the year, and the matriculation number. And also, in order to be of a linked list style like we've seen, it needs to contain the next node in the list, which is not defined when we're creating the class itself. So let's see how we could store these details. The variables are going to be private. And we have the name, as well as the matriculation number. And we have the year. And then we have the next node. Notice how all of them are yellow, because we're not using them yet. Okay, so because these variables are private, we also need to create the getters and setters. In order to do that, we simply create a public void method is going to be a setter, and in this case we're setting the name. We give it a string, and the name is going to be equal to the parameter, and we can kind of do this for the matriculation number as well as the year and the next node. The year is going to be an N, and it's going to change these, and then next year trick Y. Okay, so we have the set name, which gets a string and sets the object's name to the parameter. Set matric does the same thing for the matriculation number. Set year does the same thing for the year, and set next does the same thing for the next node, so we can change the next node. And we do the same thing but to get the values. So in here we're going to return the name, and therefore when we call this method we will get this object's property value. We do the same for matriculation number, for the year, and for the next node. Notice how these methods are returning the same data type as the variable. Matric and name are strings, year is an int, and next is a node. So when we're returning, we can only return those variables that have the data type of the method. In this case, only those variables that are the same data type as the method can be returned. Okay, so here we have it. Let's say that we wanted to initialize these objects already with these values so that it's easier, we don't have to call these methods later on. We can do this by using the constructor, as we know. Like so. We give the node, when we initialize it, two strings and an integer, and we simply set the name, matric, and year to be those three values. We could create the constructor having a node, like so. However, I want to call the method to set the node. I want to call this method instead of having it in the node constructor, so that it is more explicit and it is easier to see what the next node is when we're creating a new node. This is everything that the node class is going to do. It has a constructor and a bunch of properties that we can access via the getters and setters that we've created. In the next video, we're going to be creating the list class, which is going to contain a bit more and also some methods in order to be able to process and do things with the nodes, such as adding new nodes to the list or finding a node in the list. Stay tuned and let's go into the very next video.